Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's been a while since we did our last live. I believe it was at least a year and a half ago. I'm having another go at it. Primarily because I do this session every week. More or less, I try to do it every week. With my agents, my associates, to kind of share with them my take on the some of the latest news on the market in the market right now. And we have then tried to kind of repurpose those content for the audience. Then it got me thinking like, wow, that's a lot of double work. So which is why I kind of like decided, why not? I just do this live for the benefit of everyone, right? Agents, consumers, everybody can watch in together. Before we begin, can I just have a look in the comments? If audio and visual, everything okay? Could you guys let me know in the chat? Before I begin, don't want to go through the whole live session and then subsequently everyone say cannot hear. There will be a problem. Uh, Let me also just try to record this. Yes, that's okay. Yeah, let me just double check with my assistants who are watching in that video, audio are all okay. Right, I think we have, yep, I think it's all okay. Let me just try to, okay, come, let's get started. So the very first piece of news I want to talk about, it's the Bayshore GLS, yeah, which was mentioned in our title, which was mentioned in the thumbnail. Okay, come, let's break that down by first talking about the article. And maybe as we begin, perhaps I can share with everyone the one thing that I kind of disagree with in this article. Okay, and it's this part. Okay, there may also be some pent-up demand for new private housing, including from HDB upgraders in the nearby Marine Parade and Bedok estates, since there have not been any significant private condominium launches in the immediate Bayshore area for decades. So here's what I think. Okay, number one, Marine Parade HDBs, very, very little, and most of them are actually very, very old. Most of the buyers over there, they have been there for quite a while, and they might be a little bit on the older side, retirees, all right, so to speak. The actual upgrader numbers from those HDBs, personally, I don't think I've ever met any upgraders looking to upgrade from those HDBs. Yeah, so I think those numbers are very, very little. But though, okay, in recent years, we have had a little bit more HDBs coming up, but I think maybe the Fengshan ones are hitting their MOP soon, but those beside the Bedok MRT, they have not hit their MOP yet. Fengshan, Chai Chi there, maybe, right? But the rest of the HDBs in Bedok are actually also very, very old. Maybe just the ones that we've sold one recently, right? 200 series right beside the MRT, they have some of them. But the real demand for the area. So, right, maybe I can first start off with like why. Why is it so sought after? 8 developers coming in to bid, right? Maybe I share a little bit about the organic demand in that area. Personally, the Bayshore area, right? It is not the first pit stop for buyers that wish to upgrade into that particular area. Okay. The truth is District 16, right? Of course, unless you're looking for school, right? Temasek Primary School, or you're looking at Red Swastika. Most of the people, when they think about moving to the East Coast stretch, right, they tend to want to start off first with closer to Parkway Parade. Yeah, the Amber side, maybe the Siglap side, right? Those are the District 15. And a lot of the times it is the fact that they cannot find anything there, or the prices over there are perhaps a little bit on the higher side, that they then decide to expand their options and trickle into the District 16. Okay, kind of explain a little bit, because we've done plenty of deals, serve plenty of sellers, buyers alike, within the District 15 and District 16 area. Not to say that District 16 is not good. Personally, I feel it's great. Actually, if you really go and analyze it, right, in District 15, they are already a very established area, strong organic demand, old wealth, lots of things. The one thing that perhaps is somewhat lacking around there is transformation. Okay, the transformation that was supposed to come has already been materialized, which is the MRT stations. Hence, prices going up significantly over there, right? District 16 now is the next one that's going to undergo plenty of transformation, right? As you look over here, I think the main draw into this area right now is the whole transformation that is going to happen over at the Bayshore area. As a matter of fact, this particular plot, it may seem expensive right now, but it will look really cheap before then. If you think about the next plot that will potentially come up, and this is something that actually a lot of people may not know. So maybe I could take the opportunity to share with you guys. Let me pull out the master plan. I have it right here. Okay. Okay, so this was the plot in question, I believe, right? The one that was just bought. If you move your way up the MRT stations, this is the real juicy one. Am I sharing the correct screen? Hold on. Correct. This is the real juicy one, because for those of you who know, this light blue color indicates an integrated development. Yeah? We have this over here, commercial and residential. Okay, not to be confused with residential with commercial at first story. Yeah, residential with commercial at first story is what you get at even Lentor Modern. It's residential with commercial at first story. Even the upcoming Marina, One Marina Gardens, right? OMG, it's residential with commercial at first story. The one that we truly consider an integrated developments are the light blue colors. Okay, and I mean, quite expectedly, the government is putting in a shopping mall in actual fact, right? Because the residential with commercial at first story, they tends to be just shops and whatnot, can still be done pretty nicely, like your Atra, that kind, right? But this is going to be a full-blown shopping mall linked to the MRT station. Okay, and it's good that they are putting this in, because if you really zoom out now, this whole area in the Tanah Merah area right now, right, they are not exactly being served by a lot of shopping mall, right? Everybody is now congregating in Bedok Mall. Yeah, and then if you go further up, of course, you have the Changi City Point over here, and you have East Point, which is not the most popular mall lah. I mean, there's people over there, but it's not the best mall, right? So they, with them bringing in so many residential units over here and already have a lot of residential, this is basically all residential, right? It's about time they put in a new shopping mall over here lah. And this plot is gonna be crazy expensive. Yeah, super duper sought after. Okay, which can then kind of makes the recent launch over at Bagnell House really a good value for money, right? That's freehold linked to the MRT, right? But that's besides the point for this one. Okay, so this is the real plum plot coming up, right? Smart from the government's perspective to launch one here, right? Set the price there, and then this one, they have to fetch a much higher price. Okay, so that's that. The next point that I want to share about, it's 8 developers bidding for this plot. Okay, so yes, right, most of the news is centered around the pricing, it being 1388 PSF for the OCR. Later on, I will talk about what has caused this phenomenon, what this will say about the market moving forward. But immediately, what's the first thing that kind of excites me? Yeah, for lack of better word, yeah, probably excites me, right? It's the 8 developers coming into to bid. It's the last time that we've seen this kind of number of developers coming in to bid for a plot. Okay, was One Marina Gardens with 6. Okay, other than that, right, I believe ever since COVID until now, with the ECs aside, we've never seen 8 developments being bidded for. Okay, and especially after the onset of GFA harmonization. Yeah, usually we trend between 2 to 3 to 4 at most developers bidding for a particular plot. Now, what does this mean, right? Interest rates have come down. Yeah, interest rates have come down. Yes, construction cost is probably still on the high side, but one of the big chunk of cost from the developer is interest cost, because they all take leverage. At the end of the day, it's all a leverage play. It's all a leverage play, right? So with interest costs coming down, they can take more risk. And also, right, where I see is that right after the GFA harmonization rules came out, the developers were a little bit concerned. It's like, how do you really make money out of it, right? Because right now, then I have to sell my 3-bedders at 800 plus square feet. I have to shrink the sizes down. Can the market accept? And the market have readily accepted it, as we can all see. It's a later article that I'll talk about, right? The market has readily accepted it, snapping things up 80-90% soon. So now the developers are bullish again, and they are coming back down into the market. Now, does this necessarily mean the market is gonna take an uptick? There's no direct correlation. Of course, if you take the data from the past, that tends to mean the market is going to come back with a vengeance, right? Because the last time we see a big surge in developers coming in was the 2017 period. Yeah, the developers all came in, all the en blocs coming in, and then we had this potential oversupply. The government had to come in to do cooling measures. Okay, so that's where we are at, right? It's a good thing that the developers are now more aggressive, have come into the market, but that also means the market is based on past data, potentially going to pick up. So now that's that. Okay, breaking down the article in detail. Okay, likely going to generate 500 units by SingHaiyi. Yeah, very, very close in terms of bidding. I think they won out by just 0.8%, beating CDL. Okay, CDL sold Ori pretty well, so I think they have plenty of land bank. SingHaiyi, I think they have basically sold most of their land banks already, so that's why they're a bit more aggressive in coming in. Okay, the level of participation from developers is the highest at a GLS tender for private housing since January 2022, right? When a land parcel in Jalan Tembusu fetched 8 bids, I believe that was Tembusu Grand. Yeah, EOK, Emerald of Katong by Simlian, they only had like 2 or 3 bids only. Yeah. Moreover, 1,388 PSF per plot ratio will be the highest land price for a 99-year leasehold private housing site in the suburbs, or the OCR. Okay, so if you read onwards, the previous benchmark was set by Alta just in November, right? Yeah, in November 2023. So we are about a year's out, and this is not a minor bump. This is 130 PSF bump. It's more than a 10% bump from Alta's price. Okay. This is also very interesting, right? In fact, the top bid for Bayshore plot at Thursday's tender even exceeded some of that in the RCR and OCR. Yeah, Zion Road, right? 1202 and 1304. Okay, then we have Holland Drive and River Valley Green 1285 and 1328. Right, in similar vein, this shows blurring distinction between the different market segments and reflects more on the individual characteristics of the sites, developers' keenness to pay for more superior attributes. Right, we talk about the proximity to MRT, schools, and whatnot, and I mentioned that this part I disagree about. Yep, so here, right, jumping on over to here, they expected it to come out at 2,007, 2,800 PSF. Why did I put 3,000 PSF in the thumbnail is because I believe that the higher floor sea-facing units, I'm pretty sure we are going to hit 3,000 PSF. Pretty sure. Okay. I mean, we've already seen close to 3,000 PSF being fetched over at Alta, over at Ori. This one will likely come out 1 year from now. Okay. And this 2 years, yeah, we're going to have very low TOP numbers for the private market. Yeah, and that's going to drive up a lot of demand into the new launch market, because the market is kind of lacking in terms of alternatives and options. People are going to snap it up, especially the sea-facing units. You could also see the fact that Seaside residences, there is a couple of MRT stops down. The resale PSF have already fetched very, very high. And on top of that, there's very, very low supply in Seaside residences. I mean, maybe since we are on here, I could share some of that as well. See, so we have one bedders at 2,002, but if we go and look at the three bedders, this is part of the phenomenon whereby the larger units, the PSF is higher. Once you see sea-facing, 2,700 PSF. Of course, this is asking, right? Nego a bit, yeah, I think we likely still land on 2,700 PSF. So, you see the article, they put 2007 to 2008. I think they are being probably a little bit conservative. So if you see, my bet, right? 1 year from now, it should likely average into probably 2.9. Yeah, with the top floor units definitely, higher floor units with the sea view definitely crossing 3,000 PSF. So some of you may say, like, why am I so confident when I plug numbers like that? Because we have a lot of data behind, right? And I'm going to share some of this later on in the video, tag to some of the other articles, right? I'm just this is the first of the 3 articles that I'm going to talk about today. But this phenomenon that we see, right, coming back to this point, which is perhaps the most interesting point over here, right? That this particular plot, the price is higher than the CCR and some of the RCR units. What does that tell you? Okay, what's my take on all of this? Perhaps maybe first I can explain the reason, right? And I'm going to go through in this is kind of like something new that I've pieced together in my head. It took me a bit of time to piece everything together. I've put it into a video, right? About my new predictions about the CCR, right? So do like and subscribe, check out that video. Should likely come out early part of next week, right? That should form, that kind of gives you guys some of the wrap up, what's in my head, right? So what are some of the problems that I noticed in the market, and what are the likely the predictions I have for the CCR. I mean, since we are on this article, I could give you a very quick summary. So the first problem, lack of supply in the resale market, right? So if you go into Park Esta, Jadescape, Park Clementi, is 4,000 units, okay? If you try to find a 3-bedder above 1,000 square feet, you can make a guess how many of that are currently for sale. Yeah, you can try to make a guess, okay? But the answer is 7, okay? 4,000 units, 1,000 3-bedders, about 7 units currently for sale. Yeah, so there's undersupply in all these very popular resale condos, right? Then comes to the second problem that I kind of noticed, which is everybody is starting to think of property purchases the same way. Okay, so of course you start off first with the owner occupiers, right? The owner occupiers, they want to be near the MRT, they have to be near the schools, they have to buy. Yeah, and so they are willing to pay the price in the resale market, right? It's the whole theory that in the resale market you sell to the people that kind of needs the house immediately, they kind of needs the place, hence they're willing to pay you a premium. They make that profits from their HDB, whatnot, the ECs, HDBs, their previous condo, whatnot, right? Then they are paying you the profits to enjoy the house immediately. So, and then the narrative has now been built that you generally want to sell to owner occupiers, right? Something that we ourselves have preached on the channel. The problem that has caused is that with everybody thinking the same way, owner-occupier also want to buy those units. Investors also want to buy those units because they want to sell to the owner-occupiers and make a huge profit next time. Now everybody is rushing into this place with low supply, hence driving the prices of those resale units up. And now this article, this land sale over here is also an indication that we have owner-occupiers wanting to buy. Then we even have investors wanting to buy. So now this is the market. So now the developers know that this market is very, very strong. Everybody thinks the same way. So now all these developers also all chong and go and buy the same supply, the same characteristics, which is your RCR, OCR, near good school, and near MRT. Hence, we see prices like that. Okay, so now kind of what explains this particular phenomenon. If not, you'll be like, what is happening? Why is it so? Okay, then why we have some of the CCR launches, CCR plots with like 1-2 bidders only, right? Because if you understand, right, the developers, whenever they buy a plot, they are taking in 500 units to 1,000 units in terms of inventory. If they don't have the kind of conviction to move those units, they won't be so aggressive on. They won't be so aggressive. So by the fact that developers willing to bid and they bid so aggressively means they know that there's definitely a market for it. Yeah, this whole narrative that everybody is thinking the same way. Now, if you are somebody who's sharp, this one I talk about it in my video again, right, coming out next week. If you're somebody who's sharp, if somebody likes to think differently, think out of the box, then you might be thinking that, so then what are the opportunities this brings? What are some of the opportunities this brings? Because, right, number one, it's not to say that the Bayshore plot will not make money. It's not to say that if you go into all these Park Esta, Seaside Residences, Shadescape, all those, you will not make money, right? Because there will still be people that have to buy from you and they will be paying those prices for you. Now, is to understand this thing that I've been talking about, and I probably we'll talk about it a lot more often this year, is to recognize that demand is not homogeneous across the market. There is different kinds of demand, right? We have our families, we have our downgraders, right? Our empty nesters, right? We have our dings, right? Dual income, no kids, with a dog, right? Dings wet with a dog, right? We have our singles, right? Later on in another article, I talk about the rising percentage of singles. So they don't all necessarily have to buy in the same areas, OCR, RCR, near good school, near MRT. So today, right, last time, OCR, the options available there, they tend to be very big, either that or their boutique developments. And then, so as a product, it didn't really quite fit the demand, number one. Number two, then the data also not good, right? Lose money, everybody. Then nobody kind of really dares to go inside. So it's like the double whammy over there that kind of push people away. But now that prices have been brought to similar, if not now OCR even higher, based solely on that price, it would definitely force the segment of the market, the demand segment of the market that doesn't require to pay these kind of prices in the RCR and OCR to open up their options and to explore their options elsewhere, right? Just put yourself in the shoes of, right? If you have a family, you like the area, so, right, that's fine as well. But let's say you are dual income, no kids, okay? And then you look at here, next time they launch 3,000 PSF. And then you look at River Valley, for example, beside Great World City, and you can get it maybe at 2.9, or let's just say the same, right? Would that kind of interest you? Okay, PSF aside, now the sizes are also becoming very similar. Last time is OCR, RCR, the first ones to do our, let's say, 900 square feet 3 compact. Today, our River Valley also going to come out 900 plus square feet. The developers are not silly, right? They know last time they built too big, cannot sell. So now they build very compact sizes. If you look at One Marina Gardens, the kind of sizes are almost a photocopy of whatever they have done in the RCR and the OCR. So these are the sizes that the market can accept. And with this kind of sizes, this kind of PSF becomes the top line price, the quantum entry price, right? Almost the same. It will force people to kind of explore their options and think, do I really need this, or can I go over there? Now, that's the first mover kind of thinking, right? Once you think like that, and once more people start to think like that, the data will then come in to back up those points. And once the data comes in, because this reminds me of what happened in 2017, 2018. Last time, 2017, 2018, nobody dared to buy our Park Esta, Jetscape, Park Clementi's, so many complaints. too big, nobody will buy. So expensive, right? Because at that point in time, that batch was one of the first few batches right out of the 2013, 2017 lull of the market. No good data points one. All last time, all the properties lose money one, right? But the first people that dare to go in, think out of the box, truly understand the market demand kind of thing, they went in, right? I was fortunate enough to have understood the market at that point in time, went in, make good profits and move on. This is kind of similar, same, but not the same thing that I kind of foresee gonna happen in the CCR. Solely because the gap is so narrow, the CCR's product is evolving to meet mass market demand. I feel they're bound to be the demand going in, right? Demand was separate. It's not, I mean, the upgraders, those that need schools and MRT, they won't buy. But you're talking about your dings, your singles, potentially retirees, potentially people buying their second property, those will start to take up some of these opportunities, yeah? And then that will kind of then drive the prices up there as well. Then it creates this self-reinforcing cycle of good data, good products, and then those will start to move. Okay, and then potentially next time you will re-establish that premium over the market. I don't know. That's what I think. Okay, so with that, I kind of sum up this particular article. Yeah. Potentially, maybe I say 1 year in advance how many percent sold now, because based on the fact that I believe next year in the RCR, OCR, the supply will be very, very low. I don't, other than in District 15, District 16, after this batch finish up, we have maybe Arena East over at Tanjong Rhu side. I don't think there's any more supply coming in already. So I do think this one, by the time even, depends on how aggressive they want to be, right? I think SingHaiyi is quite fair. They may, yeah, if they launch 27, 28, likely 70, 60, 70% sold if no cooling measures come in. I'm going to put it right here, 1 year in advance. So 1 year later, if that launch happens, I come back, I quote this prediction, then I will look really smart. But if I get it wrong, then I won't come back. If you all watch and you all remember, then you all can say, Alvin got it wrong. But anyway, okay, moving on to the next article. The next article I want to talk about, right? Oh, yeah, I'll just use this, okay. It's this one. So now that I kind of shared with you guys what is happening to the market, right? The two key things that's happening. It can explain, this article explains what is happening, right? Lack of supply in the resale OCR, RCR. Okay, especially good resale, those that are tick all the boxes, one are good school, all those kind of things, right? Near MRT, near mature town, HDB upgraders, right? Pretty standard list that everybody uses nowadays, right? Resale also don't have. Force a lot of the demand also in the new launch market. Yeah. Everybody thinks the same, everybody buy the same product, not enough supply. Now everybody comes into the new launch market, buying up all the new launches at kind of record prices. Okay. But now, do I think that all this will lose money? The answer is no, right? Because the narrative is already imbued inside people's head that this kind of characteristics will make money. And then there will be people that continue to buy. Yeah, the people that need it. Yeah, like I mentioned before. Okay, so just a very quick run through the articles. One of the things I don't like, I mean, I think this is a very good headline, right? Because they don't quote year-on-year percentage changes. Yeah. Some of the articles are to clickbait people, right? They do year-on-year or they do month-on-month percentage changes and they do like 300% double. I feel that is very, very misleading and cause a lot of FOMO. Think this one not so bad, right? They're pretty fair, right? New home sales surge, right? And then they just talk about a lot more going at above $2 million. Okay. Oops. Okay. Right, developers in Singapore sold 1,575 private homes in February, 10 times the 153 units moved a year earlier. So luckily they never use this as a headline. If not, create a lot of FOMO. A lot of FOMO, never mind. Government start to see coming cooling measure, then we're all very sian. So thankfully they kept this inside here, small words versus the big words. Okay. But I will use this for my clickbait. No, not fair, right? Sounds bad, right? I say already that I won't self-use. Okay. I won't do it. Okay, anyway, moved a year earlier and 45.4% more than the total sold in January. Okay. right, 13-year. The latest new sales tally excludes EC is a 13-year high for the month of February. So all this kind of like you compare to 10-year high, that kind of thing. Because launches are so periodical anyway. It's like never really seen a point in comparing it like that anyway. Okay, including ECs is also counts the highest ever number. Perhaps what is more interesting is this, right? The suburban private homes sold at least $2 million in 1 month. We have a higher number. Wait, let me charger. Okay, the buying spurt that began late last year has continued into the start of the new year at pace and should carry into the coming months with several new launches slated. It's just 2 months into the new year, and a total of 2,600 new developments have already been sold. Right? In comparison, it took 8 months from January to August last year to hit this similar number. Okay. Again, not a terribly useful statistic. Yeah, as a consumer, as an agent, I don't look into this too much. As a consumer, similarly, I don't think you should look into this too much, right? It's because there's no launches last year, early part of last year, don't have, right? That's why the numbers are so low, right? Does it necessarily mean a supply demand has suddenly shot up? The answer is no. Demand has always been there. It's just that there's no supply for people to buy. Okay, yeah. So which is why this kind of it's a little bit wrong lah. It's a more supply side factor than a demand side factor. To be honest, of course, if you want to compare demand year on year, 2023, 2024, 2025, yes, 2024, 2025 will likely have higher demand than 2023 because of interest rates. Yeah, but I think you compare 2024 to 2025 is purely because of supply. Yep. Brought the new the surge in demand in the last quarter brought the new home sales for last year to 6,000, marginally higher than 2023, which was a 13-year low for developer sales since the start of the global financial crisis. Again, because 2023, not that many launches. Okay, buying sentiments and appetite have improved amid lower mortgage rate. Yeah, like what I said, right? Developers push ahead with major launches. Added that home buying demand remains supported by strong household balance sheets. Okay, later on I'm going to show you, right? Because on all these data points, they never really go into that much detail. Yeah, so let me share with you guys right after I finish up stating the salient points on this article. Yeah. And a steady path of improving affluence, low unemployment, liquid wealth passed down through generations. I think this is a very real fact. Maybe I could give you guys a perspective, right? So we've done a couple of sales in this period of time, right? And why I talk about why this particular point, liquid wealth passed down from earlier generations, resonates with me quite a fair bit, is because perhaps what's as good as 2023, right? Before 2024, maybe, right? Before 2024 and 2024. Before 2024, let's just say out of 10 deals I close, maybe I get 2 that goes full cash. Yeah. But in 2024 and especially early 2025, this Parktown, Alta, Lentor Central batch, right? Out of 10 buyers, half was paying full cash. Half was paying full cash. Yeah, just to give you some perspective. And for reasons basically stated over here. Because Asians, Chinese, more Asians, actually Asians in general, not just Chinese, right? They've looked at real property as a store of wealth. They've looked at property as a way to pass down cash through generations, right? So I'm getting a good chunk of buyers that are, young, have helps from their parents, parents actively looking to purchase property as a way to, help their kids kickstart their real estate journey. So this is very, very real. It's on the ground kind of thing, okay, that I'm seeing. So I could share with you some of the examples, yeah. Right. This one is just the data points about the development Okay, of the 603 private homes sold for at least 2 million, close to 400 were transacted at Parktown, where some 57s were sold between 3 to 5 million. Parktown, Tampines North, 57 units sold between 3 to 5 million. quite mind-blowing. Yeah. Again, back to story, right? Last time I had the chance I was choosing between Treasure and Tampines 5 beta versus my Paya Star 3 beta. That time Treasure at Tampines 5 beta 2 mil. Then we didn't dare to buy. Again, right? While we get a lot of things right, there's also things that we get wrong. Yeah. And which is where we learn a lot of this experience from also, right? All this kind of thought process, not to allow preconceived notion to affect you, and to really dive deep into the real fundamentals data, so you are not affected by nuances in the market. So we didn't dare to buy the Treasure at Tampines 5 beta, because it's like last time 2 mil are never seen before in the Tampines area. Fast forward, that was COVID, right? 2020. Fast forward 5 years later, people are doing 57 units, 3 to 5 million. Tampines North, somewhat. And so if you don't understand the real data behind all of this, right, you must be thinking this is nuts. Okay, so I'm going to do everybody a favor by sharing with you guys some of the data, right? We just finish off these numbers first, right? 82 units, so at Parktown price at below 2.5, 82% below 2.5 million, right? So a similar pattern, 77% below 2.5 million. I'm just stating data, Singapore is made up 92% of all the purchases, understandably so. Then this is talking about Orel, then Lentor Central, just breaking down the data points already right? Maybe you can talk about this a little bit more, right? This strong demand may bolster developers' confidence to raise prices of new launches this year. However, rising property prices could stoke growing concerns about declining housing affordability, which is a pain point among home buyers in the midst of rising cost of living. As the government is sensitive to such concerns, it would raise the possibility of another round of property cooling measures, right? Actually, very easy to kind of predict property cooling measures. Like you get, I believe the playbook is 3 consecutive quarters of, I believe, 5%, 3 or 5% increase, 3 consecutive quarters, then cooling measures should come. I think we are still falling under that kind of data points, which is again another thing that boggles me, is the November surge. The November surge in sales, we are talking about EOK, Chuan Park, right? It only resulted in 2% increase, in the property price index for that quarter. I was expecting at least a 7 to 8%, but it came out to be 2 point something percent, which of course to all of us participating in the market is good news, right? Because that means cooling measures is not yet gonna come. So I'll be very interested to see the kind of property cooling the PPI, property price index, what it looked like for Q1. Again, right, if you try to go and understand how all those data points are being derived, it's super duper cheap. I've given up on trying to figure that out, right? It's not the most transparent thing. They just give you that particular data point. They don't kind of talk so much about what goes behind the scenes and what are the percentages and what they pull out of all of that to get those particular data points, right? But that's that. Perhaps let me share with you guys some interesting data points talking about all this, why we get to see so many, why this kind of quantums 2 mil now, day in, day out, we're gonna see this percentage is only gonna go up, right? And what does all this analysts actually mean by this part, right? Strong household balance sheet, okay? So I put in some of the data. I was prepping to do my 2025 predictions. Again, I apologize for the delay for all of that. Yep. Hopefully I get it done soon. Here. Okay. So I kind of did everybody a favor, right? So what I do, let me kind of explain this. Okay. So I like to use this. Okay, Singapore resident household income by decile. Yeah, I used to present it in this manner. Very, very confusing. Even my associates cannot understand. So I put it into a table. But before that, some context, right? So Singapore resident households, right? We should be at about 1.4 odd million right now, close 1.4 plus mil. Okay, they break down each resident household into 10 equal groups. They call each group deciles. And then they go into each group, right? So we have the top 10. So instead of percentages, just treat it as, it's not too different from percentages, but they just take everything and then they split into 10 equal groups, and under each group, they take the average. Okay, so for the top 10, in this year, 2024, right, is combined household income of 34,000. Okay, then if you look at the green, then that is the budget that this 34,000 combined household income can get you. Yeah, I'm assuming 30-year loans, 10-year, 4% stress test interest rates. Okay, and so I've put it, and so we have our bottom 10, bottom one will be called the first decile, right? Yeah, so we are primarily talking about the private market, right? And so the private market participants, I kind of treat it as 6 decile and above, right? So we can take a look at over here. Okay, so 2024, why? Why this above $2 million? So many people. Okay, so if we look at the top 10 decile, right? So 1.46 million resident households in total, which means each decile contains 146,000 households. Okay. Later on, the article will tell you how many actually live in condos and private. The numbers should range about 20%, right? Easy to count 20%, which brings us about 300,000. 300,000 that is currently in condo and landed, basically not in HDBs. 300,000. So all you need to do is to look at this number over here. Okay, of course, with certain assumptions, 30 years loan, 10-year, 4% stress test interest rates. We just look at the sixth decile, which includes up to 731,000 households, of which only 3,000 is already in private. So there's actually 400,000 that can afford up to 2 mil because their combined household income is about 14,000. Yeah, so the numbers go on and on, right? 500,000 households with 2.5 mil. 439,000 households with almost 3 mil. Okay, so I also did this forward projection, taking a 10-year average on percentage annualized growth, yeah, of the income, and I kind of forecast it up because I get a lot of questions on like how much will prices continue to go up by. So this is something I did. Not the focus of this video. I'm going to shoot a separate video diving into this in greater detail, right? But this is to explain, right, why so many of the units are more and more units, right, of that are transacted at the 2+ million. Okay, then what about those under 2 mil? Okay, and what that does is not really reflected inside is the couples that decouple. Yeah, the couples that decouple, of course, singles is obviously a very straightforward data point, right? It's the couples that decouple. Yeah, they buy their first one for own stay, and then they bring one in out and purchase another property. Those tend to be the ones that are closing the deals below 2 mil. The owner occupied ones are the one that is closing a much higher number. So again, it's right here that gives me the chance to put in certain predictions, right? So I do predict that you see, this number is that kind of like, you can think of it as average condo owner affordability. Once we come into 2029, we're going to start hitting 4 mil. So, and then you just see the 8th decile. So this kind of 2 deciles perhaps maybe are more common with EC upgraders, HDB, those higher price HDB upgraders, right? We are looking at budgets of about 3.6 to 3 mil. So 3 premiums in the new launch market today, I think we'll start to see them exit at above $3 million couple of years down the road. I'm pretty certain about that, just simply based off all these data points, right? Similarly, I also have data points about liquid cash, right? They said a lot of liquid cash. So this is reflected in the household balance sheet as currency and deposits, right? So it's this color, this blue color, which I think it's this one. Okay, that lands us in, maybe I will just remove the rest. Yeah, let me see, I can do that. Oops. Okay. No, anyway, this is not the main thing in this video. But essentially, we are looking at the market holding on to about $600 billion, close to $600 billion in liquid cash, which kind of explains why so many more people are kind of purchasing their properties in cash. For perspective, all the liabilities add together is only 379 billion. All the liabilities, right? Mortgage liabilities is only 277 billion. Yeah. So for those of you who feel the market is, overheated and whatnot, I'm afraid the data doesn't suggest the case. Yeah. So in the event anything happens, honestly, you take all that cash. This is just cash. I exclude CPF. CPF and cash add together is 1.2 trillion. $1.2 trillion, right? Liabilities only 200 and mortgage liability 277. Total liability. So this includes the mortgage liability is 379 billion. So in essence, the Singapore household can fully pay off all the liabilities and we still have a fat chunk of equity left to use. So if you're sharp, you'll be thinking that, interest rates comes off, what's going to happen to all this equity? This kind of explains the surge over into real estate right now, right? We've predicted this 1 to 2 years back, right? High interest rates, yes, people like to park T-bills, Singapore savings bonds, but we've seen the yields on that start to come off, and I'm seeing a lot more cash flowing down into the market. Yeah. So with that, I'm going to end off with the last article. Yep. Ooh. Okay, zoom in. So, number of Singaporean residents living in condos double over the last 15 years. Okay, the data on ownership also points to an increase of almost 2.5% between 2009 to 2024 in resident household buying properties, private properties they live in. The issue that I have with this headline, what's the issue I have with this headline? Is because this kind of gives the impression, perhaps what I kind of not like about it is because it gives the impression that everybody is rushing out of HDBs. Okay, it gives that impression. Okay, but the fact is that it's not true. Okay, why the number of Singapore residents living in condos over the last 15 years double? You also have to look at how much new HDB supply have come in, right? You have to look at percentages, okay, not just the total condos, because the HDB numbers in the market, if you look at it over here, you see the percentage only dropped by about 6%, HDB percentage living in HDB only dropped about 6%, 6%. But your headline news say double. So what does that actually mean? Because we start off condo buyers, condo owners start off at a lower data point. Of course, you add in the sheer number, but that number is actually contributed by population growth, resident household growth, and also a lot more HDB numbers. You see, HDB resident 3 million to 3.09 million to 3.18 million and 900,000 more, not 900,000, 90,000 more households, Yeah. So then private has come up also lah, right? So what do I mean by this? Here, right? Then they also talk about the percentage of private resale or private purchases with the HDB percentage of HDB addresses contributing to it. Right? I talked about this in a previous article. I shared with my agents last week. I've snipped that up. Gonna probably post that up later on in the week. Right? What exactly does that necessarily mean? So let me piece all of this together, right, for the benefit of everyone. I just go through the salient points. Okay, the number of Singapore residents, including both citizens and PRs living in condominiums and other private apartments, double in the last 15 years, driven by upgrader buying, higher incomes, shifting preferences. Data on ownership reflects the same trend. The number of resident households owning the condos and apartments they live in grew, right, to 200,000, 2.5 times. Much of the condo buying in the past was fueled by upgraders cashing out their HDB flats. Okay, but with private property prices also hitting new high in recent years, job prospects possibly turning less rosy. right? Buying power could be impacted in the future. Now, if you've seen my points, right, mentioned earlier, I think the household balance sheet has more than enough buffer to encounter, right, to face any potential problems coming up in the near future, right? Even with tariffs, inflation, those sort of things. Inflation is probably the worst thing that could happen for the real estate market. Worse in terms of what? Worse if you are a buyer, because inflation really drives up asset prices significantly. Okay. The thing that is not kind of mentioned in this article a whole lot is this. Maybe I can pull us out from all of this to share this particular data point. Okay. And this is something that I've referred to for basically all my 10 years in real estate, right? Which is the TOP data. Okay. And we see TOP really coming off significantly this year and next year, 2025, 2026, right? Just 12,000 units. We are thankful that in the last 1 to 2 years, similarly, this drop in TOP numbers, right, primarily because of the lack of completion during COVID, is also holding back upgraded demand because MOP numbers are also subdued. Okay, in 2024, 2025. But if you look at the data, the news article by Desmond Lee, right, the public statement by Desmond Lee, that MOP data is coming up. Okay, hitting, I believe, is 19,000 in 2028, 13,000 in 2026. Right, so 2027 should be somewhere in the middle because they say it will be steadily rising. All that upgraded demand is feeding into a private market that I mentioned earlier in the resale is already quite low. In new, is also not a lot. As you can see, the new ones are being snapped up very aggressively as well, right? So all in all, my take of the private market is that demand still far outweighs supply. Demand still far outweighs supply, and demand is coming in real strong real soon. Okay. Let's talk about this article. Continue finishing it off, right? Again, right, they primarily just talk about right, the really a lot of the data points. I won't really go through all of that because then it will kind of put you to sleep. I'm going to put all these articles into our Telegram group. So if you're keen, you could join the Telegram group, then you can go in and read it in the event that you don't have kind of access to all these articles. Yeah, I'm going to put it into Telegram group. I think my PA Jill is here right now. Jill, help me put the articles into our Telegram group if you can. Yeah. Okay, so let's see which are the real points that I want to talk about. Okay, they also have offered data on percentage of owner occupied and owner occupied and non-owner occupied units. The average percentage actually in terms of investors in the private market, I believe is hovering at about 40%. Owner occupied about 60 plus percent. Another interesting data point, right? This one, if you can catch the other video because I broke it down. There's two articles that's quite similar to one another, right? Back-to-back weeks. So that article, that video should come out soon. I talk about actually the percentage of HDB owners buying private properties. That number is only about 30%. So while they say a lot of this article is say primarily talking about potential if HDB prices come off, private prices may be affected. But if you actually look at the numbers, on average year to year, HDB buyers contributing to private purchases are hovering about 30%. There you see, about 30%. Okay, last time got hit up to 50% and whatnot, but today is at 30%. If you don't really understand how these numbers work, right, it may be kind of confusing to you. So now what does that mean for me? Okay, then you may draw close parallels to HDB prices. Okay, so if you really analyze private private prices are between 2013 and 2016. Actually, the private prices are very low. Okay, a lot of the private owners kind of over leveraged through the 2011 2012 period, right? So there's a lot of speculation and whatnot. So a lot of them were stuck with a lot of properties that were bought previously, not really doing well. Okay, so private market demand was very, very low at that point in time. Then in the end, who is supporting the market? The HDB upgraders lah, because then the private gap and the HDB gap quite low. Right, then all the HDB buyers start to pump in, primarily because the private demand not very high. Okay, then came ABSD. Okay, 2013. Then you see HDB percentages start to drop. Because last time no ABSD and last time HDB can buy second property and all the HDB people go in and buy. Okay, then once HDB cannot decouple anymore, right, you see that percentage drop significantly. Then people start to figure out, you know what, screw it, right? Let me just sell my HDB and buy two private. Then we see this number start to pick up again. And this pickup in number is also contributed by the increase in MOP numbers, right? So actually this line mirrors very, very closely with MOP numbers. Like this percentage dropping off is also because MOP numbers in the last 2 years have fallen off quite a fair bit. Okay. But the MOP numbers are picking up. So my prediction is that these percentages will then continue to come up again, right? So that's my first prediction. Then the link, right? Because if you go to the last part of this article, okay, yeah. I think let me just finish the last part. The rest of it is really a lot of data, but the last part is more of angles and takes, right? Some analysts reckon the shift towards living in private property will continue as income continue to rise with economic growth, and HDB upgrader buying is fueled by still rising resale prices. I think this is true. I could agree with this, right? Looking to buy condos may have the financial means to do so because a lot of HDBs are being sold at much higher prices. I think that is a fact. Okay. Further, right, whereas in the past, where rising HDB prices led to more upgraders moving to private properties, aging individuals are now also downgrading from private to HDB flats. This in turn pushes HDB resale prices up. So then this cycle, this algorithm will continue to ratchet up prices fed by immigration, new family formation, and aging downgraders, all happily playing into a fostered environment where supply is calibrated not to go into significant excess. Okay, the ones that really lose out are the lower income families, right? So PropNext CEO, right? He predicts HDB will continue to be the bedrock of housing in Singapore as long as HDB don't die. There's nothing significant that happens in the HDB market. The private market will continue to be well supported. Okay. So they talk about over here, but then lastly, right? This proxy for upgrader buying peaked in 2012 as those HDB addresses purchased 15,000 units, nearly half the transactions, right? And so this analyst said the introduction of prime and plus BTO flats, which come with future sales restrictions such as a 10-year MOP, may further set future demand, future upgrading demand. I will choose to disagree on this, okay? Because, right, the fact is that if you look at the data point, 80% of the population still lives in the HDB. A huge chunk of people that buy their HDBs have no intention to upgrade. Okay, so that's primarily my issue with articles like that lah, because it's not talking about actually a huge chunk of population don't want to upgrade. They are happy to continue living in their HDBs, right? And this prime and plus flats, right, primary purpose is to split demand. Okay, number one, lower the lottery effect of centrally located HDBs. Number two, okay, to split the demand. What do I mean by that? For those of you, the government is saying, for those of you who want to upgrade next time, right? They also want to give these people an option, right? Then go further out lah. You go to all the standard flats that's further out, right? Go help me populate new towns like Tampines North, like Tengah, okay? Yeah, I give you a little bit of profit. I buy your inconvenience, I buy your time. You go further out, right? I give you a little bit of profits over there, okay? They also don't want to make the central turn to into ghost town. those of you who want to stay and hold for long term, right? Not really looking to flip for profits and upgrade, come, I offer you a cheaper alternative to stay closer to the city, right? So the fact that those people that already have the intention to do, they won't buy all these 10-year MOP, these prime and plus flats. That's I'm pretty sure already, okay? They will go and buy the further out ones. Yeah, so I don't necessarily think this will really impact future upgraded demand. I actually think it will help private prices, or it will cause private prices in and around the areas that have all these prime and plus rules to go up, because any buyers that go in right now, right, no longer have the option for the BTO side, right? Because either they're incumbents, right, or they are not eligible, basically they're not eligible. They also cannot buy those in the resale market for those. So all future supply within this area of BTO, as long as, number one, if you are single, make more than 7 grand, if you a couple make more than 14 grand, you cannot qualify. So that effectively removes an option of supply and a purchasing option for them. They are left with two, private or resale HDB. By the time resale HDB that is not limited by all these rules already, very, very old already, right? Then that seems to have drive even more demand over into those particular units, which fits into my first narrative at the earlier part of this video about the undersupply of OCI and RCR condos. This will probably make the undersupply in the RCR condos even more. That's why the developers so convinced. That's why they buy at these kind of prices, and that's why we see RCR prices now being higher than CCR. And so now that you kind of get it, if you get it, you get it. If not, then you follow the channel. I'm going to explain it in piece all this together in a bigger narrative again, and what that necessarily means for you, okay? So yeah, with that, I kind of sum up my take of all these 3 articles, all of them somewhat different, but all of that also somewhat linked to one another. Okay, so if not, right, I hope you've enjoyed this video, maybe a little bit long, but I thought, versus I go and think of the script and then make the speed of the videos coming out a lot slower, just put it live, just talk about my thoughts, put it out there. Let me know if you like it. If you like it, I continue with styles like that. And of course, right, if you like each particular article, put in the comments, I could then dive into those topics a little bit more, right? I could use this as sort of testing where what kind of content, what kind of points people like, and I can dive into it a lot more detail. Okay. So with that, right, if you benefited, like, subscribe. If not, I'm trying to do this every week, but no guarantees. Also, if no articles come out, then I won't do it. But yeah, so with that, thanks everyone, and I'll see you soon. Oh, do follow and subscribe. The CCR prediction video should come out by next week. And then I'm also doing a One Marina Gardens review. And I do think it's quite exciting, actually, One Marina Gardens. So subscribe if you haven't already done so. See you. Bye.